In today's video, I'm going to quickly review 78 example interview questions you can use to test your business model canvas hypotheses. Hi, I'm Steve Morris, and I use this Startup SOS channel to provide practical how-to advice for first-time entrepreneurs. In a previous video, we talked about the 10 topic areas that are important to cover in your customer interviews. With these questions, you'll be testing a number of different parts of your business model canvas. Certainly, you'll be testing your business model canvas value proposition hypotheses, testing that you understand the job, the pain, the gain, and trying to understand, is the value you're delivering compelling enough to compel the customer to actually buy, to actually make a change. But you'll test a lot more than that. For example, you'll test your business model canvas channel hypotheses when you talk to customers about how are they willing to buy. Are they willing to buy through the channel that you have in mind to sell through? You'll also test your business model canvas key partner hypotheses when you interview your prospective channel partners to understand exactly what they look for in a product that they're going to sell. And in particular, does your product fit the criteria that they'll even be interested in? You'll then test your business model canvas cost structure hypotheses when, again, talking to those channel partners, you understand what margins do they require, which directly translates into what discount you'll have to give them. And that, of course, affects your cost structure. And what do they expect you to do in terms of marketing and support, which again goes right into your cost structure. You'll also be testing your hypotheses around business model canvas revenue streams and pricing when you talk to customers about how are they willing to buy, how are they willing to pay, in other words, for the product, and how much are they willing to pay. So we're going to test a lot of different parts of the canvas, which is why this interview process is so important. Now, we're going to blast through the questions in all 10 of these categories, but don't worry, you can download the entire list. There's a link in the notes to do exactly that. Starting with demographics, again, to understand what your perfect beachhead market looks like, you'll have to gather demographics from every customer that you interview. If it's a business customer as opposed to a consumer, you'll want to record things like what's the location, the number of employees, their revenue, the product lines they have, what product line is the specific person you're interviewing involved in, what's their financial situation, their competitive situation, and how's all of that changing? What are the trends going on in this particular industry? Now, if your customer is a consumer, not a business, you'll need to substitute consumer demographic questions. And this is an area you'll have to be creative. What are the things that might be important in describing the perfect customer? You don't know for sure going through this process. You'll learn a lot in talking to customers and verifying what your perfect beachhead market is. So the challenge in the interview is to ask for the demographic information that you think might be important. So the person you're talking to, are they single? Are they part of a couple? Are they married? Are they part of a family? How big is the family? How many kids? What ages? The parents as well as the kids? What's their housing situation? Rough income level, education level? Again, the question is, what might be the important factors that help you differentiate a really good customer prospect from a not so good customer prospect? Ask all the demographic questions you think might end up being important. And then there are the specific interviewee demographics. Again, assuming this is a business situation, what are the demographics of the interviewee? What's their title, their role? How long have they been on the job? Approximate age, education level, how much experience do they have in this industry? And again, what other demographics do you think might be important to understand to help you interpret what this particular interviewee is saying and to help you develop, again, this model of your best beachhead market? Next topic, what is top of mind? What are the real priority issues in front of the customer? Again, to help you understand whether your particular job, the job you're going to improve, is enough of a priority that people would be motivated to buy, or are there other things that are much higher priority? So you'll want to ask questions like, what are the biggest challenges facing the company today? Are there financial issues or regulatory issues, competitive issues, technology development challenges, customer retention problems? And try throwing out some general questions like, if you had $100,000 to spend on improving the process in your department today, how would you spend it? And see what kind of answers you get, and see whether it sounds like your particular solution is an area they actually would invest in, or are there other areas that are more important? Next topic, of course, the job, the pain, the gain, the value proposition. You'll want to ask questions about, describe your workflow and how it works today, and you'll want to probe and make sure you understand exactly how the process works today. And ask questions about, why is this job important? How does your current solution work? Is it working well, or are there problems? What would you like to improve about your current solution? What's the required capability in getting this job done? What are other convenient, nice to have, but not essential capabilities? Again, you're trying to ask different questions from different angles to really make sure you understand the job to be done, the pain they're trying to avoid, and the gain they're trying to realize. Next topic, how much improvement is needed? This is just taking a different angle at trying to understand if the value you're going to deliver is going to be important enough to motivate a change. So ask about how they assess a product. When you bought the current solution, how was that decision made? What were the criteria? What were the specific functional, measurable criteria? What were the emotional criteria? Decision making is always an emotional process. Was there just a particular organization buy-in? They really liked the old product, they didn't want to change, or was it disliked? What was the emotional context? How about the social context? How might customers react to a change? For example, are there other social criteria that were involved in the decision? Of all those requirements, well, which really were requirements and which were kind of desirable but not really absolutely required? The idea here is you're trying to build a matrix of the different priorities and really get a feel for what's really required and what's really optional, and how much improvement is really needed to sort of push that functional criteria decision to the side of making a change. Next topic, how do customers learn about products in this area? This, of course, is going to influence the marketing aspect of your channel strategy. So you'll be wanting to ask about sources of information, blogs, podcasts, referrals, ads, reviews, trade shows, and so forth. You really want to understand how customers actually learn about your kind of solution. That'll help inform your marketing strategy. Next topic, how do customers buy, and how are they willing to buy, or how do they want to buy? So how have they bought this kind of product before? Online purchase, or at a retail store from a consultant, a direct sales force, distributor? And how are these channels changing? How do they expect they will buy in the future? How do they want to buy in the future? What aspects of the channel they're experienced with do they like, and what would they like to see improved? Do they learn about products through these channels primarily, or do they learn about products through those other marketing sources we talked about earlier? And how important is the channel that they've been buying from in the past? Are they really committed to a particular salesperson or a particular distributor, a particular channel? Will it be difficult to sell to them through some alternate channel, or are they open to change? Next topic, how is the purchase decision made? This will help you understand the role of the person you're talking to, help you understand the process, and again, give you a different view on what's important enough to motivate a change. But it'll also help inform your sales process. To understand how customers buy, what the process is clearly a valuable thing to understand. So you might want to ask, how did you make your last purchase decision of a product in this area? Can you walk me through each step in the process? And who was involved? What were the roles? What was the role of, say, the end user? Who was the final decision maker? Who's the economic buyer that actually does the purchase? Who are influencers who have input to the decision but don't make the final decision? Are there recommenders who make recommendations based on technical analysis or whatever? And Are there potential saboteurs, people who will lose? Maybe they'll lose prestige or potentially even lose their job, or at least lose part of their job, part of the tasks they're responsible for if your solution is adopted. There are often people in an organization that will lose if your solution is adopted, and they may well try to sabotage your purchase process. That's clearly an important thing for you to understand. Next topic, required post-sales support. That's a topic that often doesn't get talked about enough. What type of support is needed after the sale? That's an important part of the service that you are delivering. So what type of post-sale support do they receive today? What do they like about it? What do they not like about it? How would they reinvent support for this kind of product? If they could do anything they wanted to do, what would the support look like? Next topic, how are customers willing to pay? There are always lots of different ways to charge for a product, and some ways will be acceptable to customers, some not. So one question is, how do they pay for this kind of product currently in their current solution? How did they pay for it? And how would they like to pay for it? What types of payment approaches make sense to them? And again, lots of options: asset purchase, a rental or lease, subscription, a license, getting charged per transaction. What is their belief on how they should pay, how they prefer to pay for this kind of a product? Then, of course, next topic related to how would they pay, how much would they be willing to pay? We talked about this in a previous video where you first describe the value that you're delivering, and then you ask 4 questions. How much would be too little? How much would be too much? You wouldn't even consider it. How much would you be willing to consider, but it would be getting high? And at what price would this be a real bargain? Now, clearly, before you ask those questions, you have to describe the value, and you have to describe how you would be charging. Again, from the previous slide, what approach would you be using? But you get this kind of feedback from enough customers, and it gives you a pretty good feel for what pricing will be acceptable to your customers. Next topic, how does the channel work? This is where you're talking to the channel partner to understand their requirements. How do they compensate their salespeople? That's a very important thing for you to understand how the salespeople are motivated. What types of products do they sell, and how do they assess whether or not a product is a fit? Do they promote the products, or do they expect you to promote the products and provide them with leads, and they just focus on following up with the leads? What are their typical margins, their financial margins in their business? And that, of course, relates directly to the amount of discount they're going to expect on your product. What are the desirable products that they have now? What are their successful products, and what characterizes them? Maybe ask them to describe the ideal new product, the thing that's really likely going to be a success for them. Maybe describe a couple of products that weren't successes, and why weren't they a success? What went wrong? Obviously, you'd like to understand what the success strategy is to sell your product through this particular channel. And that's it. That is 78 questions that you can use for your own customer interviews and partner interviews. Now, again, you'll customize your questions to your business, but hopefully you can see now that a lot of the questions we went through are generic questions that you will always want to ask because you're trying to understand some particular business issues that are going to be important to assess whether or not your product can be successful. So yes, you'll add to these. Yes, you'll listen to the answers and follow up with probing follow-on questions. But these 78 questions should get you off to a strong start in developing interviews that'll help you test a lot of those hypotheses that you have in your business model canvas. If this was helpful, please click the like button, share it with other entrepreneurs. If you have any comments or questions, please leave a comment. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click that subscribe button and the notification bell, because we always have more videos on the way. That's a wrap for this video on 78 example interview questions. Thank you very much for watching.